faith-based partnerships, cultivating healing gardens on unused land. This is a collab panel between RAFI USA and Healing by Growing. So I'm gonna do some quick introductions, and then we'll get into the panel. And lunch will be directly after this, and we will do a Q&A at the end, but also feel free to save your questions and network during lunch. All right, so first coming from RAFI is David Allen. As the Come to Table project manager, David manages the School for Food, Justice, Faith, and Storytelling and the program's events and communications efforts. David received his bachelor's degree from UNC Chapel Hill before crossing Tobacco Road to earn his Master's of Divinity from Duke University. A Tar Heel at heart, David was born and raised in Shelby, North Carolina, and now lives in Durham with his wife and 2 cats. Next, from RAFI, we have Justine Post. Justine has worked at the intersection of social justice, food ministries, and local agriculture since 2016. She seeks to serve faith communities and nonprofits by providing resources, tools, and peer connections to increase their capacity. Justine holds a Master of Social Work from UNC Chapel Hill and a Master of Divinity from Duke Divinity School. She lives in southern Eminence County with her husband Andrew, their daughters Dorothy and Edith, and their dog Bowie.
It's okay. Bowie.
When she's not working, she's usually making pies and spending time with her family outside. Then we have Carrie Starr from Healing by Growing. Most recently, Carrie was appointed the Director of Operations and Community Development for Healing by Growing Farms. In her role, she helps to coordinate volunteer programming and outreach activities. Carrie's ranch is the site of the first Healing by Growing Healing Garden in Ohio, and she'll talk more about that later in the panel. I'm KiarahYoung. I joined Healing by Growing in December 2023 as the Healing Gardens Alliance Program Coordinator. In my role, I collaborate with Dr. Yvette to develop the Healing by Growing Gardens Ambassador Partnership Program. This program fosters the creation of accessible green spaces designed to promote healing through nature and empowers survivors to find solace and restoration in the outdoors while fostering a sense of community and environmental stewardship. So we'll end with that and give you guys some resources on how you can join the program as well. And now I'll pass it off to RAFI. Thank you guys for joining us.
Hi, my name's Justine. We both work for RAFI, which is a farm advocacy nonprofit. We're based in North Carolina. We primarily serve small and mid-sized farms and farmers in the Southeast, although a lot of our resources and knowledge extend kind of beyond that. And Dr. Yvette is recently joined our board, and she also participated in our School for Food Justice. And so we got to know her through that there, and she invited us to come out. And so we're really grateful for that opportunity. So we want to just kind of ground you a little bit in kind of who we are and what we do and what our programs are. So we have a variety of ways that we pull people in to bring about a new food system that works for everyone. And we have federal policy advocacy. We have a Farmers of Color network that supports small and mid-sized farmers of color, especially new and beginning farmers. We have grants that can support their work. We have education opportunities. We have the biggest thing that we would invite you to consider coming down to North Carolina if you've never been. It's a beautiful state. We will have our Come to the Table conference, which happens at the end of September. And that'll be 2 days, and we'll have a couple of keynote speakers, and you'll get more information up here we'll share. And we've got lots of handouts, and we have a table downstairs as well. This is just about our organization, but I'm going to fly because that's, you can find out about us later. You have Google. Our program represents, basically, we invite faith communities to participate in the work of creating a just food system. So that is our goal. We think that faith communities should be at the helm of this because they care about creation, they care about the earth, and we really want to bring those folks in, and it matters. And faith communities have access to a lot of resources. They have buildings, they have people, they have land, they have heart, and really just wanting to support those folks and really make those connections there. I'm going to pass it to David to fill in any other pieces I've missed.
Yeah, sounds good. Maybe the one thing that I'll add and pass out, if it's okay, to walk around and not mess up the camera. Sure, yeah. Is some information about our conference that Justine mentioned a few minutes ago. That's going to be September 30th and October 1st of this year. Our theme is Food, Land, and Sacred Stories. and we are working hard to incorporate a variety of different storytelling methods, including a screening of the documentary Rhythms of the Land, which is directed by one of our keynote speakers, Dr. Gail Myers. We're going to have a live podcast recording with faith community members talking about some of this food justice work. We're going to have a play. We're going to have a storytelling hour where we have 6 storytellers from across the country who are going to talk about the sacredness of food and land in their own lives through personal narratives. And that's one of the big ways that we have the ability to showcase over 30 workshops of faith communities getting involved in this food justice work, however it may be. So we would love to invite you to consider making the drive or flight down to Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and spending a couple of days with us. One of the other things that I would just highlight quickly is our School for Food Justice, Faith, and Storytelling, which is how Dr. Ruiz and Come to the Table first got together. It's a program that will run again in 2025 for faith leaders that takes you through various issues in the food system, whether it's food insecurity and food apartheid, or the state of farmers of color in America, or corporate consolidation. And then we move into solution-based stuff, thinking about theology, policy advocacy, and more programmatic stuff, like what we're going to talk about today. So maybe that's the high points to hit. I don't know if I'm going forward or backward. Looks like I'm going backward.
There you go.
So that was just one slide that we had. And our registration opens on June 3rd. That's why it says register on June 3rd instead of register now. So I think that would be the main things that I would want to highlight before we kind of move into now giving a few examples to you all of ways in which faith communities in our neck of the woods have worked on land issues before we pass around this land kind of questionnaire.
So basically story is kind of the way that we like to motivate our work and engage and communicate through our work. So we're going to be uplifting 4 stories based in North Carolina of churches or faith communities in some way engaging with land justice work or food growing, trying to find different models, different ways that you could think about how could this work. Maybe it could work in our community. What good is happening? So this land is owned in Orange County, North Carolina, which is outside of Chapel Hill, kind of in the middle of the state. And it's a full-fledged farm. So they have their LLC. This is Howard Allen. He's the main farmer operator, and it's all church land. So it's a non-denominational church that exists. They have access to this land, and Howard's a member of the church, and he started the farm about 5 or 6 years ago and said basically, I'm called to start growing, and you all have access to land. It's not being used. I want to be able to use it. The church doesn't charge him to use the land and to rent it because, churches don't pay property taxes. It's a gift. They've found that their gift is to let him grow on the land and use it as a gift. Some churches that use land, they might charge for utilities for water access, depending on what kind of the needs are. But for this particular congregation, this is a partnership that they found. And so he grows, as you can see, there are 8 high tunnels. And so they produce food all year round. So they do vegetable crop production. And so like right now, because we're kind of in the middle of seasons, they're still kicking out some spring stuff like snap peas and lettuces, but then they've got tomatoes that are almost going to come up. So the high tunnels offer a way to produce year round and protect the plants. And so that's just been an amazing partnership. What's worked is that the church sees it as a beautiful example of like, yes, we want to support this business and they can grow. And because of how much space there is, they can do things like farm tours, and they can do meals and all sorts of community active events on that site as well.
So in the example of Faithful Farms, that's a church with land that Howard is farming, selling it at the local market. Blackburn's Chapel in Todd, North Carolina is a little bit different because they also have land that they are using with the farmer, but they are using it to fight food insecurity in their area. One of Justine's big things that she likes to talk about is how a lot of times with faith communities and churches, they have a Kevin Costner from Field of Dreams mindset. If you will build it, they will come. And Justine likes to point out that that is not always the case. The thing that I love the most about the Blackburn's Chapel and Todd example is that they decided that they had a little area of land that they wanted to do something with, and they interviewed over 120 residents in Todd to ask them several questions. How did you come here to Todd? Like, what are the things that you love about Todd? They asked them, what is something that you want to change about Todd? They asked them, what is something that you can teach and what is something that you want to learn? And they gathered all of these results and found that food insecurity and food access was major. Todd is a little small town, rural, outside of Boone, North Carolina, in the Appalachian Mountains. And the closest grocery store was in Boone, 30 minutes away. And so they decided to start growing food on the little plot of land on Blackburn's Chapel. And they also created a garden that uses permaculture, agroecology, and they also, which I think is really cool, created a demonstration plot, which they invite folks from Todd to come out weekly and learn how to grow food, learn some of the techniques that they're using to bring back to their own homes if they have a backyard garden or whatnot. So Todd's Table is an example of a faith community doing the research, doing the information gathering, finding out what the community needs, and acting on it. And you'll see here on the right this little Todd's Table, I don't know what you call it, like a cart kind of situation, where on Saturday mornings they have fresh produce and fresh fruit available for community members who are downtown. So this is a really, really cool example of one faith community doing something unique with their land as well. I think I have the next one as well, which is West Raleigh Presbyterian, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina, just about 2 blocks off of the main track of road that NC State students would walk on. So it's just right off the main street. They had a lightning strike happen. I just found this out when I was doing research on West Raleigh Pres, and a tree came down. They cleared the tree and they discovered that they owned the land that was right there across the street, which is just kind of hilarious that it was like, oh yeah, we also happen to have this. And one of the questions on here that you're going to see in our land use thing is like asking about soil health and asking about like sunlight and all this kind of stuff. They had a local farm rep come out and local government rep come out and do a study on their soil, on sunlight, and they discovered that unlike what most churches want to do, they were unable to do a vegetable garden. And so they decided to do a pollinator garden, which is what they have ended up doing here. And they became a certified native plant habitat center in North Carolina. And their pollinator garden is not just there for the bees. It's also has a meditation labyrinth. They do yoga, they do prayer services. It is seen more as a garden where people can do whatever it is that is healing to them in this space. So that's another example, not food related, but it's a pollinator garden and kind of a space for people to spend time in prayer, spend time moving with yoga or what have you. And another unique example of a way that a faith community in our area is doing something with land.
Yeah. Lastly, this is kind of our last example. This is McQueen Chapel United Methodist Church in Sanford, which is in what's called the Sandhills of North Carolina, southern part of the state. And they grow on multiple lots. So the church being one of them, which is what you'll see here in the top right. They've got some raised beds because they work with folks with disabilities and different abilities. So what they decide to do is just do raised beds to kind of have it inclusive for all, because that's the church building is easiest, and that access lot is like the driveway is really clean and clear. This is Miss Veronica here on the left. She runs the garden. She kind of does it all. That's what I would say is that most of the time with growing initiatives on church or other faith-based property or just community-based, there's usually 1 to 2 powerhouse folks that are like doing it all, which is great. But one thing I would suggest is find helpers and supporters for that person, because when that person is done, they are done. And sometimes the entire program dies with it, which is not always a bad thing. Gardens come and go, but finding ways to support that. And so she involves youth and she brings them in. And she's also a veteran, and she connects with other veterans in the community. It's really close to Fort Bragg, so there are a lot of retired veterans there. And so she invites them into that space. I would say, in terms of healing gardens, this is a way that she's really connected with other folks and invited people into that growing space. And I think what makes it work is she's really well connected. And what I really loved what Josh Allen said this morning is like advocating and using your voice and asking for what you need. Veronica is one of those people. She has used every resource in North Carolina available. She talks to Cooperative Extension. She applies for grants from every kind of nonprofit she can Google. And she goes and she finds that money she got a grant to buy this. This is a cooler. It's a transportable. Does anyone know what a cool bot is? Yeah, so it's like you can make anything into a walk-in refrigerator for like next to nothing. So she bought this and had it fitted for a cool bot. And so it's a walk-in cooler, and she can drive it around different communities. And that's literally what she does. She packs up her produce and she drives it around and distributes it to people who need it. And she also works with another farmer to supplement, because she doesn't grow a ton of produce. They don't have a lot, but she works with a local farmer and applies for grants and gets them and buys the produce and distributes it out to people who need it. So for me, what I love about this, and I've known Miss Veronica for years now, is that she asks for what she needs and she looks for it, and then she brings in partners and they make it happen. And also, like, in terms of land access, they're in a really rural area, but even still, land is always hard to come by. So they have different ways of growing. As you can see, they grow in a field as well as the raised beds. And so there's different ways to grow food so that's accessible to different folks. And then there are like plants in 3 different areas of the county that people can access. So that's another example of faith communities engaging in land access and growing food. So I'm going to have David go around and hand these out. This is just a primer. This is just, if you're thinking about using land or partnering with a faith community around land access, these are just some really good questions to start with. We have like 3 or 4 categories. One is like really practical, like land, like what kind of soil is it? You can get your soil tested, partnering with Extension. Is there water access? Is there a road that you can get to? Is the church comfortable letting the facilities being used? Are there bathrooms? All those really basics, all the way to what if we start something and then no one shows up? Or like, how do we get the community involved? Really, and these are just questions to get that started, because we don't really have a how-to guide because there's not a one-size-fits-all, but these questions can be good starting points. And like the example in Todd, that's what they did. They sent out a questionnaire to every community member and said, not only like, what do you need, but also what do you have to give? And that's a really good place to start. I'll mention the one in the middle, the picture in the middle is this, what you're getting now. We have these guidebooks here on the left. This is a resource we put together on kind of understanding how we got to where we are now in terms of land access in the United States, a history of land loss in the US. And we have a couple of examples there that we didn't even mention today of churches that are engaged in land justice work in a small way and in a pretty big way. So there's some good examples there, and those are free to take and read later. The other thing that you can Google, and we have an image of, it's really robust. It's called the Faithlands Toolkit. It was put together by an organization called the Agrarian Trust. And it is like 50 pages long. It's great, but it's also very long. But in it, you will find like tailored down more questions that you can ask your community about how to go about using land and where to start. But that also has case studies and other inspiring stories and examples of different faith communities that are using their land for good. And I mean, we probably have so many other like anecdotes and stories in our head of where to start. So we would love to connect with you all throughout the day or at lunch and brainstorm with you what's possible. That is what we like to think that we do, and that's our goal, is to really connect with folks. So, but yes, I would like to pass it on to Carrie.
So Kiara introduced me. I'm Carrie Starr. I live in Ohio. And last year, so I'm a mentor with FACT, which is Food Animal Concerns Trust, and they're also a sponsor of our conference. I started working with Yvette early last year, and we developed a great friendship. We really hit it off. And so part of the benefits of the FACT mentorship is they pay for a farm visit. So over Thanksgiving last year, Yvette came to my farm. Oh, I forgot to mention that Yvette invited me to join the Healing by Growing team in August of last year. So besides mentoring and trying to help with the business aspect of it, she also invited me to be part of the team. So So she came to visit me over Thanksgiving last year, and she was awestruck by the beauty of our farm. So we have a 50-acre bison farm in Thornville, Ohio, and she's like, this would be the perfect place for a healing garden. So we hatched a plan to develop a healing garden at my farm so that I get the honor of being the first Ohio healing garden sponsored by Healing by Garden Farms. So there's just a little picture of our view. So we get hundreds of visitors a year. We get school groups. We have lots of homeschool groups that come to visit our farm. We have retirement communities that come to visit our farm, scouts, and all kinds of things like that. And so it's the perfect place for folks to come and sort of sit with nature and reflect and heal. And so my mom also has COPD, and so she has a hard time getting around. So we decided to create a healing garden just outside of my mom's. She lives right next to me in a tiny house. So this healing garden will be right there. And so not only will our guests that come to visit be able to honor and share in our healing space, my mom and myself and other visitors can come and join. So in 2021, I had a bottle baby calf, Peaches. And Peaches was special needs. She was born with a condition called parrot mouth. And so I never planned to become a mama bison, but sometimes these things are foisted upon you. So she was a lot of fun. But unfortunately, with the mouth defect, she also had some other internal conditions that I couldn't see. And so early this year, she passed away. And so we essentially put her in the spot where the healing garden is going to be. And so it's also going to be a memorial garden for little Peaches. We had so many people that came to our farm and who followed us on Facebook just to kind of keep up with what Peaches was doing, because she was sure that she was not a bison. So she liked to smell flowers and things like that. Anyway, on Mother's Day, that's my daughter there in the top, well, both the pictures there. And so that's the site of our healing garden. So Peach's little grave is there to the right. I received a peach tree for Mother's Day. And so we're going to have a little peach tree that kind of represents Peaches. And then folks will be able to have a little snack. Of course, it'll take a few years to get some peaches. But so people will be able to have a little snack. And then we're going to also have some pollinator plants. We have bees on our farm as well. So people will be able to sit and enjoy. My mom always jokes she's got a really ugly view. So be able to sit and enjoy our view. And yeah, so that it'll feed the soul and feed the pollinators and feed people. So yeah, I'm excited to have the honor of being Ohio's first healing garden sponsored by Healing by Garden Farms.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about how you can have your own healing garden and receive some support to also establish a healing garden at your faith-based organization or within your community. Again, I'm Kiara. I came to Healing by Growing through, I just recently finished at Wesleyan University, and we were doing a class that was community engaged research on the other 1%, which is BIPOC farmers. And we partnered with farmers to figure out what are their barriers in becoming farmers, what could be barriers for others, resources they need, and that I got partnered with Dr. Yvette at Healing by Growing. And then in December of 2023 is when we started this program and I became the coordinator. Yeah, so this would be a program for you to establish your own healing garden. We'll get more into the different types. And we will provide the resources and knowledge for you to be able to do that and the support. So you can access DIY project gardens, expert-led coaching support. So you'll can receive support from Dr. Yvette and other members of the Healing by Growing team. The DIY project guidance will be a series of infographics that can teach you how to create accessible raised beds, make your space accessible for all needs, chicken coops, whatever you think of, there will be resources for that. It's also to create a community, united healing space for your community, and you'll become in community with others. And so to become a leader in community wellness. So we do ask that whatever space you decide to create, you give back to the community in one way or another. That is a big part of Healing by Growing, is that they provide all of their food donated to the community free of cost. And it doesn't have to be food. You can give away your plants or seeds, or just providing the space and allowing others to come in so that this space is useful for those in your community as well. So the options, you have a memorial garden that is just a healing space, and it can be dedicated to someone you love and lost, and give others the opportunity to contribute to that memorial space and to use it as a healing space for that. Healing medicinal gardens, if you want to grow herbs, it'd be a medicinal space. Foodscapes, if you want to just grow food and garden to receive food from that. Pollinators, so the Bee Initiative gardens, and Healing by Growing farm replica. So that is if you have a pretty larger space where you can kind of do a few different things, whatever you see as need for you and your community. That can include a lot of things that Healing by Growing farm has. It could be chickens, rabbits, all of the fruits and vegetables you can think of, and healing space as well. So the membership perks. So this is going to be a membership program that you can join for a small cost. And through that, you would receive the DIY project garden guidance, HBG yard sign, and infographic library. So it'll be a series of infographics that gives you step-by-steps on how to create a few different things on your own, what resources, materials you need for that. That'll include discounts on supplies for those materials, video resources, and there'll also be a Facebook group. So you can come in community with others who are also establishing a garden, ask questions of each other. Through this also, we other resources outside of actually like building the infrastructure for the farm. Just some tips on growing as well will be a part of it, what you can grow in each season, how to grow through the seasons. That is all included. And so we have a faith-based scholarship opportunity. And so thanks to the generous support from the National Young Farmers Coalition, Cultivating, who's the main sponsor of this conference today, and they were here, so please check out their table. We have 5 scholarships. These scholarships are designed to spark partnerships between faith-based organizations and local BIPOC disabled growers. The goal is to create healing gardens and unused church green spaces, fostering a mutually beneficial relationship for everyone involved. So this can be organizations and sites of any faith, and so we would like to partner with those organizations. And yes, so each scholarship is $500, and it will fund a healing garden at a faith-based organization site or within their community. So even if your faith-based organization site does not have the space, but there is space within that community of it that you guys can get access to, that is an option as well. It doesn't have to be directly on site, but as long as it's in the community and you guys are able to use it. So the organization leader will partner with the BIPOC disabled grower from the community to design, create, and maintain the garden. Again, this can be any of those 5 options, whatever you feel is the need of your community and what there is space for. This collaboration is a part of our Ambassador Partnership Program, which helps shrink food deserts, provide land access, and promote healing, mental well-being, and community connections. Applications will be prioritized for organizations partnering with Indigenous or BIPOC growers, people with disabilities, or trauma survivors. And so our main purpose, again, is to serve the community. It should be able to provide something for yourself to take action in, but also serve the community one way or another. It does not have to be food that you're providing to the community. It can just be a healing space, mental health and wellness. Whatever you have the resources to provide, find some way to give back to the community in that. And it is very important that the applicants are Indigenous or BIPOC people, people with disabilities, or trauma survivors. That is a requirement to apply. Yeah, and so this is the QR code for the interest form. This is not just the interest form for the faith-based organization scholarship. The beginning of the form is just if you're interested in the program, if you're not connected to a faith-based organization and would still like to join the Healing Gardens Alliance program, that is perfectly fine. And then there will be a question that asks if you would like to apply for the scholarship, and it'll take you to the second part of that form. But if you would just like to receive more information about the partnership program and get connected, this form is for that as well.